The moment Brianna walked into my life, it felt like the world shifted on its axis. She was everything I thought I want: ambitious, charming, and incredibly smart. We met at a small tech startup where I was a junior developer and she was in marketing. Our connection was instant, a whirlwind of late-night coding sessions and even later-night conversations about our dreams. I was completely smitten. I shared everything with her: my hopes, my fears, and even the source code for a passion project I'd been pouring my heart into for years. It was a revolutionary social media algorithm, something I believed could change the game. I trusted her implicitly. That was my first mistake. Things started to change subtly at first. She'd cancel dates, citing work emergencies. She became more secretive, her phone always face down. I tried to ignore the gnawing feeling in my gut, telling myself I was being paranoid. After all, she was just driven, right? That's what I loved about her. The truth, however, was far more brutal. I found out through a mutual friend. Brianna hadn't just been working late. She'd been working with our company's biggest rival, a tech giant run by a notoriously ruthless CEO named Marcus Thorne. And she wasn't just working with them. She was involved with him. The pieces of the puzzle clicked into place with horrifying clarity. Her late nights, her secrecy, it all made sense. Oh, the day it all blew up is seared into my memory. I was called into a meeting with our CEO. Marcus Thorne was there, a smug grin plastered on his face. And next to him, looking radiant and utterly unapologetic, was Brianna. They announced their new partnership, a groundbreaking social media platform. As they presented their revolutionary algorithm, my blood ran cold. It was mine. It's my code, my design, my dream, stolen and presented as their own. Brianna had taken my trust and used it as a stepping stone, selling my life's work for a corner office and a powerful lover. When I tried to protest, to expose their theft, they just laughed. I had the power, the lawyers, the money. I had nothing but the shattered remnants of my trust and a broken heart. I was fired, of course. Blacklisted. The company I helped build turned its back on me, labeling me a disgruntled employee. I hit rock bottom. For weeks, I barely left my apartment, trapped in a cycle of anger and despair. The world saw Brianna and Marcus as visionary geniuses, while I was just a footnote in their success story, a ghost haunting the machine I had built. Every time I saw their faces on a magazine cover or a news segment, it was like a fresh stab to the heart. I wanted to scream, to expose them, to make them pay for what they did. But how? I was just one person against a corporate behemoth. Any attempt at a public takedown would be crushed. I felt utterly powerless. But then, one night staring at the ceiling of my dingy apartment, a different feeling started to creep in, pushing past the anger. It was a cold, quiet resolve. Revenge. No, that was too simple, too messy. It was about justice. I realized that fighting them on their terms with aggression and noise was a losing battle. They thrived on drama and conflict. My weapon wouldn't be a lawsuit or a public smear campaign. My weapon would be patience. I knew my algorithm better than anyone, including the engineers they'd hired to maintain it. I knew its strengths, and more importantly, I knew its hidden weaknesses, the tiny, elegant flaws I'd designed into its core, waiting for the right moment. So I waited and I watched. I took a low-profile job at a small cybersecurity firm, honing my skills, learning everything I could about digital forensics and system vulnerabilities. I lived a quiet life, disappearing from the tech world's radar. To everyone, including Brianna and Marcus, Connor was ancient history. Meanwhile, their platform ConnectSphere was exploding. It became the biggest social network on the planet. Brianna was the queen of Silicon Valley, a media darling. We're on top of the world, arrogant and untouchable. They never once looked back, never imagined the ghost from their past was not only watching, but was also meticulously planning. They thought they had one. They had no idea the game was just beginning. Years passed, 5 to be exact. ConnectSphere was a global empire, integrated into every facet of modern life. And I was ready. The flaw I had built into the original code was a subtle data-catching loophole. Under specific extreme load conditions, it would start to misattribute user data, subtly mixing up profiles, messages, and private information. It was a digital time bomb, and the trigger was the sheer scale of their success. I didn't need to hack them, just needed to give the system a little push. From an anonymous network, I initiated a carefully crafted series of cascading server requests, simulating a viral event far beyond anything their stress tests could have predicted. It was the gentlest of nudges. At first it was minor glitches. A user seeing a friend's private message, a photo appearing on the wrong profile. The company dismissed them as isolated bugs, but the chaos grew exponentially. Soon millions of users were seeing confidential data from complete strangers. Corporate secrets, private confessions, financial records, it all started spilling out into the public feed. Pandemonium erupted. Media called it the Great Unraveling. Trust in ConnectSphere evaporated overnight. Stock price plummeted into an abyss from which it would never recover. It was a complete and utter system collapse, not from a brute force attack, but from a single, elegant flaw in its conception. It was poetry. The fallout was spectacular. Marcus Thorne's empire crumbled, he was buried in lawsuits, his reputation destroyed. But my focus was on Brianna. I watched her press conference, the one where she tearfully tried to explain the unexplainable. The confident, ruthless woman I once knew was gone. In her place was a terrified, broken person, stripped of her power and her lies. She had no one to blame but the bug in the system. She would never know it was the man she betrayed who had planted the seed of her destruction years ago. She would spend the rest of her life haunted by a ghost she couldn't see, a flaw she couldn't fix. I never revealed my role. There was no gloating. No, I told you so. My satisfaction wasn't in public vindication, but in the quiet knowledge that justice had been served. They built their kingdom on a foundation of lies, and I simply waited for the weight of those lies to bring it all crashing down. I repaid betrayal not with rage, but with patience. I let their own ambition become their undoing, and as I watched the news report on the final bankruptcy of ConnectSphere, I closed my laptop. And for the first time in 5 years, I felt truly free. My name was cleared in the only court that mattered, my own. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more.